In August 2016, a Boise man vanished, leaving behind a home that showed signs he had not planned to be gone. Within days, 2 people connected to him were arrested while trying to pawn his belongings and attempting to flee from police. The discovery of his body in the foothills exposed a planned theft that escalated into a killing and a prolonged effort to conceal what had been done.
I have to ask, is there drugs?
Lots of drugs.
Okay, because you can just sense it.
You can kind of, you're picking up the vibe.
What do the kids say? Clock it. Clock it. Yeah. Also, I was going to tell you something about Staples Baddie, but now I can't remember, but I just still love her.
No, loving. They redid the store for her.
As they should.
They should.
Because if she's going to get millions of views, it better be looking nice.
Yeah.
Let's get a little,
she got a new break
a little
room
remodel.
Let's go.
A little update.
That's Staples playing it right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a corporation being like, you do you. We love it. And she better be making Staples better be paying her fucking $45 an hour at this point.
They need to be paying her. And I hope that they let her keep it authentic too.
Yeah.
Because that's what I worry about is you can always feel when it becomes planned.
Yeah.
And she's so good and has not had any fuck ups to this point that I'm aware of where it's painted the company in a bad light or, no fuck ups. Let her
redo
do
the
her
store,
thing.
pay her lots of money and let her keep doing what she's doing.
Yeah. People can sense inauthenticity in most people. I know that I can.
Yeah.
I know many people can. It just feels fake. And so many makeup influencers have done that. And Michaela and the eyelash.
I didn't even need to say it.
I'm not even a makeup girly. And that was all over my shit. And I was like, okay. Kim Kardashian. Oh my God.
My shake.
I held off, but I digress. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Lethal Library. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Dani.
And we are here today to tell you yet another true crime tale straight out of Taterland. For those of you that might be new, we are a true crime podcast and we like to cover cases in Idaho, specifically death row cases. We've done a lot of those by now, so these are not all death row cases, but there's a lot of pretty notable cases in Idaho that haven't ever gotten national media attention. Some have, but it's our state, and so super interesting to us, and maybe you can learn a little bit more about the good old land of potatoes that you didn't know. So we hope you enjoy. Dani.
Sources used today are articles from the Idaho Statesman, KTVB, and KBOI.
KBOI. I love that call. Sorry.
Yeah, I had to stretch out a little bit from just my newspaper articles.
Always up in the game.
There was some good stuff out there, and I'm like, I'm going to use that. So this is a little bit more recent. So 2016. Newspapers are a little bit more respectable now.
Yeah. They used to be very much leaning a little bit more tabloidish.
Yeah. So let's get into it and talk about some drugs.
Yep. It definitely was reeking of that from the first few sentences. So let's see where it takes us.
On August 18th, 2016, Brenda Mitchell filed a missing person report for her brother, Mark Irwin, after she and her family had not heard from him for more than 2 weeks. Brenda went to Mark's residence and found his mail piled up, his air conditioner running, the microwave door open, and bedding missing from his bed.
Not a good sign.
His 1985 Toyota van was also missing. Renda told police that Mark had been spending time with Francie March. When contacted, March told Renda and the family she hadn't seen Mark either. On August 20th, March again contacted Renda, saying she had not seen Mark for a while and she was concerned, and provided detailed information about Mark and the last time she saw him.
So now she's reaching out being like, hey, still haven't heard from my bud. Where's my friend?
Police began an investigation and obtained a warrant to search Mark's house. Which is, I'm glad they did this because you don't always see this. So like he's a grown-ass man.
Can make his own choices.
There's nothing,
Yeah,
unless
and we've
it's
touched on this, that we all have had a friend that this could be them in Paris for a week, and it wouldn't be, I'd rather someone's house not, because when they search a house, they don't always do it respectfully, which I've never understood the chaos of ransacking.
Especially if it's somebody you think that's a victim.
Yeah, I feel like everything should be organized and cataloged, and sometimes when they search a house, it's like they look like they're ransackers themselves, and I don't feel like that's helpful for evidence collection. Side
What
rant.
was that one that we did where they didn't even put in the bloody bra but that's evidence.
Hello?
Bro. Yeah.
Huge evidence. That's not even something that is a tiny detail that could help later. No, we do need the bloody articles of clothing. I don't know why we have to say that, but
so kudos to the police actually taking this
taking an action.
Missing person seriously and going to do some investigating. Let's investigate.
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen with missing adults.
100% true.
While officers were conducting the search, they learned that March and Anthony Barclay were at a pawn shop attempting to pawn a .22 caliber gun that belonged to Mark.
Stupid.
So Francie and her buddy Barclay, literally why the house is getting searched.
Down here at the pawn shop. Yeah. We know why you're there. How absolutely desperate and stupid.
Drugs. Officers attempted to conduct a traffic stop after these two left the pawn shop.
Oh, they were there live. That's amazing.
It's amazable. Oh my God. But they fled.
Ruh-roh.
March jumped out of the vehicle and into the Boise River.
And I said desperate before hearing this. I need another, give me my thesaurus, because what the fuck?
But they eventually, they got her, and both of them were taken into custody. During police interviews, both admitted, can you just...
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking, how do you fish someone out of the river? Did she get in a situation where she's like, okay, I'm drowning, I do need help out, though, and then I'll go with you? Because you know how the Boise River, it is a very easy river, but if you get up in those sides, with all the trees and stuff, it can become dangerous quick. As she was inebriated, I'm sure.
High, yeah, at least. But I mean, at what point, how far do you walk in? Are you walking in? I wish I knew. Did you walk in?
A police officer in full gear.
Did you walk up to your knees, March? Did you...
I want to know the procedure. Is there police trunks where they're change into your trunks? Because I sure as shit would not want to be going in there fully clothed, bulletproof vest, full tactical belt of gear.
This is my total imagination. I think she was out in the water, probably not doing anything too idiotic. This is in August, so the water's a little lower.
Yeah, so you probably stand in just about the whole.
So she's probably out in the middle of the river, standing. And the cop pulls his gun and says, "Get your ass over here." And she's like, "Okay."
Or he says, "I got to get my ankles wet up to my knee, maybe."
I bet you she just came back. I mean, where are you really gonna go?
Yeah, we want to be.
Who jumps into the river? What fucking
If
idiot.
only we had a body cam in this day. And
There probably is body cam, but we can't afford to get it. So there's that. Thank you.
help me, I'm poor.
Vodka, sponsor us. Cheers. So both of them were taken into custody. And during police interviews, both admitted to breaking into Mark's home several times. Stealing items and pawning them. They gave different accounts about the last time they saw Mark and declined to answer further questions, requesting the counsel.
He said, attorney.
I need my attorney.
My lawyer.
On August 26, 2016, a Boise County deputy reported seeing a van matching the description of Mark's vehicle along Rocky Canyon Road in the Boise Foothills, just across the Boise County line. God damn, the Boise County line gets it every
It
time.
has really caused a shit show in several ways from our cases. So for those of you that have been with us for a while, you probably know that
Just across the Boise County line.
it makes things messy.
And, well, Boise County is just really tiny, and they just can't afford to do.
They don't have the funds.
No.
I bet I'd be like, can we move this line? I'm really sick of y'all dumping crimes over here.
Quit dumping bodies across
You
the
guys
Cascade.
can handle this way better. Leave us alone.
Yeah. Officers responded to the area, and as they approached the van, detected a very strong odor.
Never good. I think we all know where this is going.
When officers opened the sliding door, they discovered a decomposing body inside, covered with a tarp. After obtaining a warrant and examining the contents more closely, good job on getting the warrant.
And that's one thing that I've always been curious about. Maybe we can go over it more in another episode, because I know if there's extenuating circumstances, you can go in without a warrant. I don't know if that only means that someone is in danger. Like,
I believe when they do these kind of things, and we can go into it and I can do some research, but I feel like they're dotting their I's
yeah,
and
and I
crossing their teeth.
appreciate that.
So we don't have an appeal on the evidence collected.
And we know
because there
how
was
that could be.
nothing, and you're going to hear, there's obviously, if there's a decomposing body, there's nothing that they can immediately do. Step back, call a judge, get a warrant, so that you're just protecting the evidence that can be admitted.
Yeah.
And so if you have time to do that, I think it's a very wise choice. I mean, it would be nice if they could be like, oh yeah, we saw this and we went in and did it and blah, blah, blah. It's just better.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's good for a good practice to have them step back anyway if there is no danger, because then you make sure all the parties that need to be involved are involved. You're not making mistakes and contaminating evidence.
That's
you have
really-
a good game plan. So I like it. I just know that we've had other cases where if they see a body, they're going right in.
And they fuck it up.
And they have the bloody bra. I think that was a similar thing.
Also, the motorcycle gang, they fucked that one up so bad. That's episode 13 and 14. It's really one of my favorites because it's just such a fucking shit show.
Absolute shit.
But they did not collect the evidence correctly in that case.
And then you fuck
Then you
things up
pay
for
for it.
years.
There was nothing that they could do to help those people. They were already dead. They would have just stood back, called the appropriate people, meaning forensics, right? A real investigative team, not some sheriffs that are out here pulling people for Deweys and,
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the point. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the pause probably helps more than just about anything else.
No, it's good. There's nothing. Look, if he was breathing and was alive,
Yeah,
literally
jump in there, try. If we've got the odor, and I'm sure you can see, this was in August in the summer in a closed
It
van.
makes me so sad.
It's terrible. So I'm the only reason I'm saying this is not to be gory, but just like I'm sure that they understood that there was nothing to be done at that point.
Right. So take the hour. They're calling a judge. Because you can get a warrant pretty fast,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
during the day.
That's
Especially
what
for
the
something like
judges
this.
are there for.
Yeah. I can never be a judge because I'd want to get trashed sometimes and then.
Really? Who was the judge that was it the judge that wanted to go to Reno? No, it was the lawyer that was like,
I can't help
can't
you.
make these dates. But yeah, no, if I was a judge too, I'd be like, do you get a backup? Call me Bud.
Yeah. You're like on
He's
call.
covering for me.
You're on call.
His out of office message. Hey, I'm in the Bahamas.
I'm playing poker with my boys tonight. And I'm drinking whiskey and smoking cigars. If you
Can't
need a
make
warrant,
legal decisions. It's the law.
call Judge Smith. Thank you.
Is it the law? I wonder if there is a law, or can they be trashed and be like, you weren't out there, right?
Steph, you're giving me lots of tasks.
Sorry.
To research.
I'm full of ideas today. TBD. And maybe one of y'all know out there. If you guys know, you're smarty pantses.
Yeah.
Tell us.
So after they obtained the warrant, they examined the contents more closely. And investigators found that the body and tarp were strapped to a yellow children's slide. Positioned similarly to a backboard used to move a medical patient. So they used the children's slide as a gurney.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh. I am
Right?
just...
Is that the right word? Gurney?
Gurney stretcher, like a handheld.
A stretcher would probably be better. Gurney, I think, has wheels. I don't know.
Whichever one doesn't have wheels that you... This is so disgusting and crackheadedly done.
There's the kids slide in the back. We can just go.
The crackhead ingenuity is just... This is the type of shit that you see where it's like innovation on meth. Truly, where they're like, what about that kid slide? It's the same color. We can each grab a side.
Let's
Why
go.
not do that? We could do it if we slap into the slide. Awful.
The body was in an extensive state of decomposition, August, and was face down on the slide inside the tarp. The head was wrapped in a bed sheet, and over that were 2 plastic grocery bags tightly taped around the neck area with clear packing style tape. The hands were bound behind the back with a red patterned rope. Another red patterned rope was loosely around the neck beneath the other layers. The knees were bound together with a belt, and the ankles were bound with a bungee cord. They had to go and wrestle up.
They were using any type of bonding, like, material or medium that you could. They were searching, again, the crackhead innovation.
I got a couple of bungees in my trunk.
Like, what about this belt I found in the closet? And I just, especially when someone covers another's face, that's so indicative of knowing the person, because I don't know if that's how he died or not, but people don't want to look at people as they're having to clean up a crime scene. It's really typical that if someone knows someone else, that they'll cover the face because you don't want to see that.
And I also feel like they this is what I feel like that they thought that they could put them on the slide and move them, and then realized that it was very difficult, and then they had to go back and find all the items
To hear everything because
they're drugs.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is really just when you see people and the lengths they're willing to go to and put
Over
a friend through, or at least what they probably thought was a friend, the victim.
I think he thought of them as a friend.
Yeah, it's insane.
There's fucking bad people, dude. Due to the extent of decomposition, identification was made through dental records, which confirmed the body was Mark. And I'm sure, I mean, that's just the confirmation, but
Yeah.
he
You
was
have to have
missing.
it.
He was in his own van, like found a
Well, we
body.
had that with Meats though, where missing, can't find, same height and weight, but at the time there was nothing they could do as far as dental records, fingerprints,
Because their head was gone.
yeah, and hands.
And whole arms.
And so it seems like a silly box to have to check, but if you don't,
Because that's what their defense was in that last case that we
what
did
the
with
reasonable
needs.
doubt
Yeah.
comes from. So
Jesus.
it seems silly, but you got to do it.
Toxicology identified substances in his system, including amphetamine, THC, ethanol, citalopram, and, I'm going to butcher this, quetiapine, Queti.
It looks like Q-tiapine.
It is a atypical antipsychotic that could render someone unconscious and could be fatal in high doses.
Yeah, one I've never heard of, but just add some more
It's an
question marks
antipsychotic drug
to it.
though. Yeah. And the autopsy concluded that his death was consistent with asphyxiation due to air obstruction by a plastic bag.
Oh my God.
That's horrible.
That is a terrible
Give me the drugs.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Investigators determined that he had been killed several weeks earlier. Poor Mark.
And just when you realize like the deception and the ability of people to be like, hey, you called me about your brother. I was just wondering if you heard about him because I was so worried.
Crackheads, dude.
And that they just went and like ransacked his house several times because he's, they're like, what else could we find?
And they do.
They'd be combing through the carpet.
Yes.
I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me if that was one of the activities that happened there.
Officials confirmed that Mark had been reported missing the previous month and that he had been found dead near the boundary of Ada and Boise counties. Police did not release the details about when or exactly where the body was located, and the cause of death had not yet been determined pending toxicology results. They didn't want to give that out.
Mm-hmm.
They're keeping very hush-hush.
And I do just want to clarify, because some might have not listened to our earlier episodes, there's a lot of counties in Idaho, and Boise County does not include the city of Boise.
Thank you for
Boise, the city, is in Ada County. That's why this county line has come into question several times, because it's kind of city of Boise, but it's not per the county line. And Boise County does not have the funding that the main most populated city of actual Boise, aka Ada County, has. So I just know that I never understood why Boise wasn't in Boise County.
Ada County's the big boy of the state.
It's the big boy.
That's where Koberger was tried.
Mm-hmm.
Did they bring Daybell was tried here?
Yeah.
And those were in other counties that happened.
Yes.
And I mean, for Koberger, I mean that's like a fucking 6 hour
It's from
drive.
the top to the bottom.
And we're talking 3 hours for the difference in the county for the Daybell shit show. But that's like Ada County is really...
It's the heart of Idaho.
Yeah.
It's the most populous place. Most of Idaho, if you really look at it, is like BLM land, Bureau of Land
didn't we
Management.
look? It was like, aren't we 62% public lands?
It's a lot. And so the populations are in little pockets, and Ada County that houses the city of Boise and Meridian, some of what Eagle, other places, that's where most of the population is. The next most populous county is Canyon.
The 2C.
The 2C. Remember, for those of you that listened to our last episode, you now know the handy little county song that you can learn if you're you're a weirdo like me and you want to know if you're in Idaho what county someone's coming from. I just today.
Did you have to sing it to yourself?
So no, I didn't, and here's why. Someone cut me off, and I am very forgiving because I commute so much. You learn, you just got to let people in. Like, people don't know what they're doing. They're panicked.
Do ya?
And how much was I would say 80% of the time I am calm now, and I just let it go. But this person, it was a very egregious one, and I looked at that license plate. You want to know what it was? A W. There's only one W county, and that's Washington. I'm watching you, Washington County. And I said it. I said, okay, Washington.
I know it's Washington, but I always just say Weezer because Weezer's in Washington. And on the travels, I hate driving through Washington County on the way to the cabin.
Why are they like that?
It's literally 65 and they're doing 45.
Why are they like that?
I don't know. Hey, anybody want to give us some insight? Some Debbie, yeah?
Well, and let's just say this person merged unsafely into my lane. Their lane was stopped. Mine was going about 40. I saw them try to do it to someone else. I have like a sixth sense of mergers, and I'm like, he's going to try to do it to me. Sure did. I was prepared, so it wasn't a big deal. Again, I'm like, whatever, dude. But he got over and then immediately tried to get back. He was confused. He or she, I don't know.
I will say.
I couldn't tell. But it was like, you did all that. You almost caused a wreck. Another driver wouldn't have noticed that you were going to jump out from a stop to someone doing 40. And now you need to get back in the lane that you just fought so hard to get up. What is happening?
It's because they still had an hour before they got home.
Maybe, but it did them no good. The merge did them no good. They had to stop my lane to get back because they needed to not be in my lane.
I might have struck a chord there.
I'm telling you, Dani, it was clear that either they didn't have like a GPS going, they were mistaken somehow, thought they needed in my lane, and then realized, no, I actually need, which I don't know with modern day GPS how that's an issue at this point. It talks to you. It shows you pictures.
Maybe they didn't have CarPlay.
Maybe they were being a little bit of a dipshit on the road. It was an unsafe decision that I graciously, I allowed them to merge. Like, because I could tell they needed to merge. But then they needed immediately back where they were in their stopped line of traffic. Make it make sense.
Did they have new plates?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It looked like, I know, I think it was a Nissan Altima, which those cars have their own lore of just, don't get in a fight with a Nissan Altima. They have nothing to lose. The folks that drive Nissan Altimas, and respect, but I'm not getting in a fight with someone in a Nissan Altima.
Okay.
I'm letting you go. You need to get to your location. Bet more than I do. I have a feeling. I'm gonna let you get there. Anyway, huge side rant, but we do want to know, Washington County, what's happening.
What the fuck's up, Chuck?
Give us the tea. We're in the same state. We want to know. I know it's not all of you. What's going on?
On October 22nd, 2016, Boise police announced that Francis March, 45, had been charged with first-degree murder in Mark's death. The announcement came nearly 2 months after the body was discovered in the Boise Foothills. Mark was known within the International Film Festival community as a projectionist and a disc jockey. John Quackenbush described him as absolutely one of a kind, adding he had a sense of humor all his own, and he had a way of speaking, a cadence. I would liken it to Paul Lynde, who's a 1960s TV personality that I don't know who that reference is. Friends have been waiting for information about what had happened, but details about how or why he died still had not been released. Police stated that Mark knew both March and Barclay and that the crime was not random. Both remained in the Ada County Jail on burglary and grand theft charges related to the property taken from Mark. So they were already in jail for the burglary, and then they're like, here, you can take this charge too. First-degree murder.
Just a little sprinkle on top, just to add insult to injury.
And had him dead to rights on the property.
Yeah, right.
Like, we literally caught you.
We
honking
saw
shit.
you live, and then you ran from us and jumped in the river.
John has said he had met Mark about 14 years earlier and had worked with him at Sundance and at film festivals in Nantucket, Dubai.
Hello?
Mr. Worldwide. He explained that earlier projectionist work declined around 2005 as the industry shifted to digital projection. So I think this was a craft, an art, right?
Yeah, no, it was, for sure.
Leaving film festival work as the primary opportunity for Mark. Mark continued working in the AV community, assisting with productions. John described Mark's life as that of a pro or semi-pro skier and said skiing and films were recurring themes in his stories. He said that he last saw Mark at Sundance 2 or 3 years earlier, but spoke with him several times a year. So these guys were lifelong friends.
No kidding.
When he had tried to reach out that summer and found his phone disconnected, he searched online and learned of his death. Oh, how that would fucking suck.
Oh my, that would be terrible because the internet was still...
Well,
I mean, 2016, it's okay, but you don't know whether to believe. I mean, still, I feel that. But cross-referencing
You're
was
trying to
more
reach your friend
challenging.
that you know, we have those long distance friends. I have a friend in Oregon that I talk to maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and then it's always like this really long conversation. It's
Right.
1 or 2 hours. Watch her on her social media, so I still feel like I know what's up, but I can't imagine like
Going for that phone call, being like,
and the
"I wanna
phone's
reach out."
disconnected, and then I search and find out they're dead.
That's awful.
He said that Mark owned a house on Gage Street where he collected cars, motion picture equipment, and other items, including a 1960s era Cadillacs and an El Camino.
Oh,
Quote, he described himself as a hoarder, John said, describing him as magnetic and entertaining. So, you know what I hear from that? Those crackheads thought there was a lot of shit there that they could probably...
oh, they probably thought he was like a millionaire. We're gonna find some hidden riches or some things.
Do you
from
see all the
movies.
stuff he has?
Yeah, if we can find some stuff from movies, and a crackhead would love to look through a hoarder's place. And I wonder like how loosely that term is being used, because there's people that collect a lot of stuff that are extremely organized, and I don't know that I'd call them a hoarder. So I wonder where this person was in that.
Well,
Because
Mark, he was saying Mark described himself as a hoarder. So it doesn't necessarily
I feel
mean...
like it was casual.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that he was like walking through, 5
I bet
pounds of
they
garbage.
thought they were gonna find priceless memorabilia.
Yeah.
They're like, he was in the movies. He's probably got autograph things that we could sell for $10,000. And they could only go to the pawn shop with that. Was it a gun?
They had a gun, but they
22?
they'd pawned other things. On January 11th, 2017, Barclay, who's 19,
What a dipshit. That's so...
was hanging
Even
out
more
with
tragic.
a woman in her 40s. Drugs. Was charged with destruction of evidence and failure to notify authorities about a death, in addition to his burglary and grand theft charges. March remained charged with first-degree murder, destruction of evidence, and failure to notify. Both remained in custody. On March 2nd, 2017, March pled not guilty, and her trial was set for July 10th. With efforts to consolidate multiple pending felony cases, because they got her.
It's a shit show.
Investigators had identified a dugout hole near the van and believed she had intended to return to further dispose of the body.
And then just...
That is a crackhead idea.
And then got crackheadily distracted with all of her other priorities and missions that she needed to complete.
On June 9th, 2017, Barclay told a judge that he had, quote, relocated the body, attempted to conceal the killing, and threw away stuff that was evidence.
All the things.
He pled guilty to failure to notify authorities of a death, destruction of evidence, and burglary. He admitted to entering the home after Mark's death and told the court he aided and abetted the theft of someone's property. And these are all in little quotes here. Additional charges were dismissed as part of a plea agreement that did not require him to testify against March. That surprises the hell out of me.
Yeah, because I feel like a case could be made. A shaky case, but shaky cases get verdicts all the time. It's a gamble, 100%.
But I'm just surprised that they gave him a plea deal and didn't require him.
Yeah, why not? That's what they're contributing in order to earn. We're not, he pleaded guilty to burglary? Who cares? Who is like, I really need him to have a punishment for stealing stuff? And I don't know, but if I was the family, I'd be like, yeah, well, that should have been an open and shut case. He was at the pawn shop, admitted several things already. Why are we not using it as a bargaining chip? Anyway.
He faced up to 10 years in prison on the primary charges and 5 years for destruction of evidence. So he's looking at 15 years.
That still seems like a sweetheart deal to me.
On March 9th, 2018, March appeared. It's so weird. I'm like, March. March appeared for sentencing after pleading guilty to first-degree murder.
Okay. Interesting.
They had her. Renda told the court that after her brother disappeared, she feared she would never know what had happened. Quote, my worst nightmare was that we would not find him or never know what happened to him. And that would be the worst thing as a family member. I'm just saying, you just don't know.
That question and that trying to hope and not, just be positive.
Are they going to come around? Like you feel like you know somebody, but
or if
people have disappeared.
Someone has them,
right?
Hello, Savannah Guthrie's mom.
Still missing. Jesus. There's something wrong there with the police department. I'm just feeling like they didn't do something right.
I'm skeptical myself just of the whole situation. It's so strange to me. To be continued.
Renda said, if their plan had worked, I would be living that nightmare, talking about not knowing what happened. Prosecutor Brent Ferguson told the court that March and Barclay had targeted Mark as a part of a plan to steal his belongings. He said that they had recently reconnected and that Mark had allowed her to stay on his property, being a good friend. By early August, the relationship had deteriorated. The defendant and Mr. Irwin had been arguing. Mr. Irwin's Mark. They had been arguing over property she had stored at her house. They had been arguing over the fact that she had been staying with him, and they weren't getting along. He said that they brought alcohol and strawberries as a peace offering, talking about March and Barclay, to Mark. Unbeknownst to him, they had more than that.
That's such a strange gift, like as a sorry to alcohol and strawberries. Isn't that more of a romantic themed gift? Or is that what was on clearance at Albertsons?
Or maybe he liked that.
Or maybe they said, this is what the fancy people like.
Have you ever
Champagne and strawberries?
seen Pretty Woman?
Exactly. This is what the people want to see. I'm just spitballing here, but it's just like, maybe, again, the crack-headed energy is so palpable.
Ferguson urged the court to impose the harshest sentence. She was part of a team that planned to poison, rob, and ultimately murder someone, he said. She is exactly the type of person society must be protected from. Defense attorney John DeFranco argued for leniency and presented letters from March's children. Quote, I want to tell you all the wonderful things about my mom and why you should let her go early, one wrote. Another wrote, quote, I know it doesn't look like it now, but she is kind. I miss my mom and I want her to be free and come back. And a third called out, Mom, I don't want you to ever give up, okay? These kids are just another victim.
And this is so, I'm glad that you put this in the story. Thank you, Dani, because this is, sometimes things seem so black and white, and I'm not saying that I'm asking for a leniency or anything.
There's other victims.
But crimes like this, yes, the ripple effect is felt so deeply. And I think we can all remember being a kid, and we'd probably feel the same way. You may not understand the full thing, and even if you did, that's not who your mom was to you. There are plenty of parents that are addicts that still care deeply for their children, and some of them are even really good parents. It doesn't touch that, or doesn't touch it much of, and that's maybe a hot take. You know, some addicts are incredibly well functioning for that side of their life, and then maybe the rest of their life is a shit show. So it's just,
you feel bad for these children.
yeah, hearing it from a kid's perspective.
Yeah.
And just how they will be affected because of this crack-headed behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to touch on, to really know the depth and the gravity of what's happening.
I mean, and Mark's family, you know, it's a horrible situation. But she also fucked over her own kids by doing this.
Absolutely.
But they still love her.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
and that's not the person that they saw or
Right.
experienced.
Right.
It doesn't sound like, not to that effect, obviously.
but she's not a good person.
No.
So it's hard to, it's hard. I feel bad for those children.
Absolutely.
DeFranco argued the killing was a robbery gone bad and said that she deserved mercy, the defense attorney.
I don't agree with that argument.
He said, Francie deserves greater mercy. Our justice system does not mimic the lack of compassion exhibited by the convicted.
Does it?
Dude.
Does it, though?
No, he's the defense trying to be defensive.
Interesting technique, because, okay, I don't know if historically or even presently, especially in Idaho, that argument is factual.
Judge Stephen Hippler rejected that argument, stating that she had treated Mark, quote, like he wasn't human. He said, he was treated, frankly, worse than roadkill, and told her, you left his family to suffer and worry what had happened to their missing brother, knowing all the while, even as you spoke and communicated with them, that he was rotting under a pile of trash in the hills.
And that is true. And there's not going to be any getting around that. But when you're messing around, none of this would occur to you.
No, you're not. The court sentenced her to life in prison with 27 years fixed. Well, done snap. Following sentencing, the court addressed the factors considered in imposing the term. The court stated that protection of the community was a primary concern and that a lengthy sentence was necessary for general deterrence. I love that. Like, we're just going to try to deter everybody.
Yeah. We're trying. Doing it for the community.
A psychological evaluation diagnosed March with personality disorder with antisocial, borderline, narcissistic, and paranoid traits, along with attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, bipolar 2 disorder, panic disorder, and severe substance use disorders.
This is quite the laundry list, and I know that so many of these diagnoses are really hard to get. So I'm skeptical that all of this is in the same bag. I feel like...
And what part of her drug addiction played into those?
All of them, yeah.
Right?
And can you accurately diagnose? Again, we're not psychiatrists, but that just seems... These are some of the hardest diagnoses to obtain, even for those that are looking and feel that they themselves are displaying these characteristics. These are very hard to get, and all of these together makes me a little skeptical. I can see how they would work together, but
It's a lot.
and this is a psychiatrist has been working with them for a short period of time.
Exactly.
How many?
This
so
is just an
I'm-
evaluation. And what I've typically seen in these evaluations is like a 6 hours or total or 10 hours total spending.
I don't get that. I'm sorry. If you wanted me to unpack all my mental bullshit, we'd need the course of a few weeks. And I'm not even saying that I lived an especially traumatic life,
Right.
but I'm really self-assessing. And so I'd be like, I have a 72 slide PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to go over with you. And then you let me know what you think. So if you're telling me an inmate that supposedly has all this, you're able to diagnose, this isn't a blood test. And I'm not advocating for this person. I'm not trying
Right.
to argue on their behalf of like they're innocent. But how in the hell do you diagnose
Well,
that?
they're trying to make this look better for her, right?
Yeah.
So, but the evaluation identified risk factors, including poor emotional regulation, poor impulse control, substance abuse, manipulative behavior, but it stated she was a high risk to reoffend.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. An independent evaluation found her risk for nonviolent crime high, but assessed her violent behavior as an outlier. The court described her as a manipulative, self-indulgent narcissist who was cold, calculating, playing the odds and the angles to benefit herself, and rejected her claim that she was a bystander. Well, that independent one really got her.
Yeah, and the bystander one, why is he on a slide?
So
One person carrying a slide, even if you drag it, how are you getting it into a vehicle?
Right. She was trying to throw Barclay under the bus, and he was just a kid. This was her gig. I really do believe that. The court imposed a $10,000 fine and a $5,000 victim payment. She filed an appeal arguing the sentence was excessive. Was it though? Because Mark's dead. Was it? And you
continued
not
to
only
just
dead, but you
rob
let him
someone.
rot. And his poor family
His sister.
and his friends.
Probably hoping for good. Can you imagine seeing that call come in and being like, it's his friend. She found him. She's like, where is he? I wish I knew. And then realizing the truth.
In material submitted as part of the case proceedings, Marge stated that on August 5th, 2016, she and another person committed robbery and burglary that resulted in Mark's death. She's talking about Barclay. She wrote that she administered...
that weird medication.
Thank you. That's like...
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
It looks like it's
Quitted.
like quetiapine. I don't know.
I'll take that. To render Mark unconscious and attempted to strike him further to incapacitate him. She stated that she wrapped one end of a rope around a door handle, while the other person increased pressure on the rope around his neck and maintained that she did not intend to kill Mark.
If you are trying to portray yourself as a bystander, I don't know how in the hell this helps you. This is not bystander behavior. Bystander behavior could be like, hey, I was doing drugs in the other room for like 6 hours with some other friends. We thought something was weird, but we never went out to investigate because we were totally into doing drugs.
We thought maybe we were hallucinating.
Yeah.
We thought we heard a gun, but then we're like, no, dude.
And
we're
then we
in the
got
drugs.
scared and said maybe we shouldn't go out. We all got paranoid. That's a bystander. And then maybe you learned of it later and were like, I'll never talk about this. I'm leaving. This is not a bystander. Active participant. Hello?
At the change of the plea hearing, she stated, in the factual basis that Mr. DeFranco and I came up with, except for the last line of increasing pressure of ropes, that's correct. And that all fits with felony murder. So yes, we discussed it. It was just difficult, but yes. She said, I do understand that being convicted or being guilty of felony murder means you are guilty of murder. But that is different than my personal understanding of when you personally kill someone. She acknowledged the elements of the charge and said, right. So she's still making fucking excuses.
And you know, whether
that made no fucking sense to me
didn't
either.
And that was a direct quote, and that's why it was so wonky sounding, because she's trying to quote her of her actual words that she was trying to justify.
I had to stop and let me look at this again because this is not making sense.
I looked at it and it hurt my brain, and I'm such a stickler for like grammar and punctuation and sentence structure that I was like, brain shutting down.
That was all a solid quote. Thank you for having my back.
Bless you for reading it, because it makes it hard to read. I'm just a weirdo like that. No, but I think my best guess, and I don't know shit about fuck, but our brains are built to protect us. And I think we see that in a lot of like unhealthy coping strategies, or especially as a child, the ways that you know, if something bad's happening to you, you rationalize it and that kind of thing. So this feels like she almost can logically make the connection that, yes, this is murder, but like she can't get there with her brain of, I didn't really murder him. But not because it's not to my understanding of what murder is.
Yep.
And it's bullshit. It was not a bystander thing. We've seen so many things where you could definitely say, yeah, someone could have done more, but it has the benefit of the doubt, didn't know enough to take action. She certainly knew enough to take action, in my opinion, and she took negative actions. It's not like she was just going along. You're telling me the 17-year-old teenager was the mastermind?
19, yeah.
What? Yeah. No. I don't believe it.
In her statement to the pre-sentence investigator, she said she and Barclay planned to rob Mark because he had been, quote, mean. She said, She said they drugged him, searched for keys, opened safes, and removed property. She said Barclay struck him with a hatchet when he began moving, and that they restrained him with a rope and a belt. She said they disposed of the evidence, returning to take additional items, sold property, and attempted to prepare for the disposal of the body using lye and fuel, but that they did not complete that plan. Remember that whole...
Yeah, and they forgot about it for weeks. They were on new crackhead missions, forgot about it for weeks. And what in the fuck? Saying all this, this is completely planned out and teamworked. You're not a bystander there against your will. Again. He said, also,
in sentencing Barclay, the court considered his criminal history, substance abuse, and his conduct after the killing, finding that he participated in actions that prevented discovery and contributed to the concealment of the body. He was sentenced to the custody of the Idaho Department of Correction and is eligible for parole on October 15th, 2032. March remains in the custody of the Idaho Department of Corrections at the South Idaho Correctional Institution and will be eligible for parole in 2043.
As I think they should be.
Yeah. Maybe her and Lori can become besties when she actually gets back from... Is she back from Arizona yet?
I don't think so.
I think she has the pills over there.
Again, crazy case that reeked of drugs from the beginning. And I think we saw all the ways in which that showed up. All of the classic red flags and...
Let's plan a murder and fucking botch it because we're crackheads.
And then have plans. I think it's so indicative of crimes with drugs, how they had thought up all these ideas, probably on the drive there. They're feeling great. They're high as hell. They're thinking of ideas.
We got this.
We got the lie. We got this. We got our supplies. And then they put it up there, and then it's out of sight, out of mind. And they're on to their new crackheaded adventures.
Which is pawning guns.
And
getting money for more drugs.
Doing who knows what else. And they're just pushing it off and pushing it off. And it's not to say that those that aren't on drugs don't do the same thing, but I feel like it just so exacerbates it. And this is another just key hallmark of drugs related cases.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Please don't. And especially don't, if you're on drugs, don't do a murder, because then you're going to end up on our podcast of how fucking stupid this shit is. Like,
and poor Mark.
Yeah, what a cool dude.
Yeah.
Created a career for himself, eccentric sounding.
Yes, and he was probably very fun.
A cool, fun guy. Liked to dibble dabble in some drugs. Who knows? Maybe he was also an excessive drug. It sounds like he was a functioning drug user, no matter what.
Yeah, he little dibble dabble. We've been having some THC.
He had his life together. Like, some people are capable of being a user that can maintain their.
But even if he was a complete fucking crap, he didn't deserve to be murdered.
Do that shit
for his stuff that he just collected because he liked shit. Mm-hmm. So, March, you are a fucking bitch. Go fuck yourself. And shame on you for dragging some 19-year-old kid into your fucking schemy, scammy bullshit, you fucking idiot.
Weird and gross.
And I'm not saying I'm not giving him a pass by any means. But you know this was her idea. It's like, oh, I know this guy, and we can just drug him, and we can go steal some shit, and then we can go pawn it.
Yeah, and then someone with their frontal lobe not developed, and again, not an excuse, but people act way out of sorts at this age, and you can see why. Yeah, a whole bag of fuckery in this one, Dani. So thank you for researching and providing all the deets. If you have any of the answers to our questions we asked, thelethalibrary@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube. We're there for you. But yeah, we love you guys. Thank you for your support. Lots of interesting comments and emails in recent weeks, and that's why we do it. So 10 forward, Ducky.
Fuck yeah.